We will get started shortly. If anyone joins, I'm just here. I am a few minutes early. We're going to start promptly at 7 p.m. I am just sharing to a couple different groups who may be interested. All right, I think we're good. All right, we are going to get started in less than a moment, and we're going to talk about firearms law in Illinois. And it is now 7 o'clock on the dot. So welcome once again. This is night 2 of my multi-night broadcast on Facebook Live from 7 to 7:30 p.m. My name is Marcus Melnick. I am from FirearmMentor.com. Tom Krall said I combed my hair. I did. I combed all 3 of them. So the topic is Illinois firearms law, and we'll get into some other things like self-defense law, time permitting. So I get a lot of questions, particularly with the riots of 2020, 2021, but throughout the business of, hey, I think I need to protect myself, or I want to get into shooting sports. What do I need to do? Well, Illinois has a law called the Floyd Act, and Floyd, F-O-I-D, is an acronym for Firearm Owner Identification Card. It started in the late 60s, and if you can think back to the 60s, if you can remember them, or if you're too young like I am, you know about the history, it was another time of civil unrest. There were race riots, Democratic National Convention riots, as well as multiple assassination attempts, JFK, MLK, another Kennedy. So the Illinois legislature, in their wisdom at the time, said, hey, maybe we ought to identify people who are eligible to possess firearms and license them. And that's how the Floyd Act came into being. It's kind of evolved over the years, and today it's a little bit of a different animal than it was back in the late 60s. Today, the Floyd, the world is computerized. So you are actually background checked 360 days a year. Christmas, Easter, a few other New Year's, a couple other holidays, you're actually not run through the criminal background check. However, 2014, there's also another state database called the Mental Health Reporting Database. And if somebody is hospitalized for a psychiatric reason, they are ineligible to possess a firearm for a period of 5 years after that. There certainly is an appeal process. And I'll give you an example. I helped someone. In an apartment building that I used to live in, there was a guy who worked in the office, and he filled out the form to obtain a Floyd card. And he was rejected. Why was he rejected? Well, the form said, have you been hospitalized in the last 5 years? And he just got a kidney transplant. So the answer was yes. He didn't read the second line, which said, for a psychiatric reason. So he checked yes. The state read the application and they rejected it. So I helped him through the appeal process, told him what to get. He needed to get letters of reference. He needed to get his medical records and then write a letter, which I helped him write, that said, I misread the application. I was not hospitalized for a psychiatric reason. I was only hospitalized for a medical reason. And he sent it in, and ultimately he did obtain his Floyd card. So If you have anything to do with firearms in Illinois, you have to have a Floyd card. And that means to own, possess, rent, purchase both firearms and ammunition. Another question I get is, well, can I bring my friend to the range? My friend doesn't have a Floyd card. Absolutely. It's really a policy decision for each range. They will tell you, no, everyone has to have a Floyd card. For example, Shore Galleries in Lincolnwood requires everyone to have a Floyd card. Other ranges say, no, as long as you're with someone who has a Floyd card, they are responsible for you, you can certainly go shooting with them. I get that a lot. Mom and dad have a 16-year-old son. They want to teach the son how to shoot, and I get that question a lot. So back to the Floyd law. You have to submit an application online at www.ispfsb.com, and that's another acronym for Illinois State Police Firearm Services Bureau. It's all electronic now. If you don't have a Floyd, you would go onto their website and create an account just like you would create any other type website, and you will have to pay $11. Your Floyd is good for 10 years as the law is written now. It's going to change January 1st, and I will explain that in a little bit. And basically you have to take a selfie of yourself, send it in, and they're going to use your driver's license photo. The photo that you send in is just for verification purposes. And what's supposed to happen is you are supposed to be issued a Floyd card in 30 to 60 days. Now, often that does not happen. I was informed by someone who works in the business, who is very reliable, that a couple weeks ago, the Illinois State Police pushed through 60,000 backlogged Floyd applications. So last week and this week, a lot of people got their Floyd cards. I'm available to you. Please reach out. My website is firearmmentor.com. My email address is tacticaldaddy@gmail.com. I get questions all day long, every day. I love getting questions on this. It is my passion. If you haven't seen last night's video, it is on my YouTube channel, and it'll tell you why I'm so passionate about firearms. Now, anything to do with firearms, you have to have a Floyd card. And it basically identifies people who are eligible to possess a firearm. Now, that doesn't apply anymore. In Illinois, you have to be 18 years of age to purchase a long gun, that's a rifle or a shotgun, and you have to be 21 years of age to purchase a handgun. There are some exceptions to this. If the child has a Floyd card, and if you want to get your child a Floyd card, please send me a message, tacticaldaddy@gmail.com. I can walk you through the process. Kind of out of scope for this broadcast, but I certainly would love to help you. And as long as a child has written permission from the parent for limited purposes, such as the 16-year-old downstate on a ranch and there's coyotes and they kind of need a gun to protect themselves, that's a situation. Times were different when I was a child, but I did obtain a firearm, a handgun, at age 18 with parental permission, and I used to go to the shooting range on my own, under 21. Nobody ever questioned me. I paid my $4 or $5 at the time. Yes, it was that inexpensive, and I would go to the shooting range with some friends who were over 21. Great time. Okay, next. What is a gun? There's a lot of different definitions of what a gun is in Illinois, and a firearm is a device, doesn't matter what it's called, that's designed to expel projectiles by expansion, explosion, or escape of gas, except for the following. So you would not need a Floyd card for a pneumatic gun, spring gun, paintball gun, or BB gun that has a singular projectile less than 1/1800ths of an inch in diameter, or a muzzle velocity of less than 700 feet per second. Paintball guns, you don't need a Floyd card for, and there's a ton of things that say gun, but they aren't really firearms. Flare guns, rivet guns, stud guns, caulk guns. All of my guns are stud guns. I do have a question from Michael. Yay! Any chance we'll ever be able to own suppressors in Illinois? Well, as not an attorney, I'm going to give you an opinion. I don't think so. I think that the firearm laws in the country are becoming looser. The firearm laws in Illinois are becoming more strict. There was a Hearing Protection Act. It failed just by a slim margin. I do hope that you can bring it back, because if anyone's gone shooting without ear protection, it is absolutely painful. And I hate to say that, but that's an opinion. I could be wrong. It's not the first time I'm wrong, and it's not going to be the last time I'm wrong. Thank you for the question, Michael. Okay, so back to definitions of a firearm. Some antiques, if you have a genuine 1700s era musket, you might not need a Floyd card for it. It's a case-by-case basis. And as long as you're using it for legal purposes, you can loan out your gun, as long as the person has a Floyd card or is under your supervision. So sometimes people will take a concealed carry class from me. They haven't bought a gun yet. I tell them, don't buy a gun. One of the things that I do is I will go to a limited amount of gun stores in the area where I have relationships and I know that the prices are reasonable, and I will help you purchase a gun. What better thing can I do than spend other people's money? And that's a joke, but the reality is I don't want you to be pushed into a firearm that is not appropriate for you. Doesn't fit your hand, too big, too small, too heavy, too light. Or maybe the salesperson likes a specific type of gun and is going to push you into that gun. And you're going to think, wow, they're the expert, and it's the inappropriate gun for you. I've come across so many people who have purchased the wrong gun and end up selling it, and they lose money. It's very much like a car. Once you drive it, it's used. So I can certainly help you with values. If you have a firearm you'd like to sell, or you have a firearm you'd like to purchase, I can go to a gun store with you. I also have an extensive amount of people in my network who buy, sell, and trade guns all the time. So it's very possible you could say, hey, I want a Glock 17, and then 2 minutes later, and that's the luck of it, I get an email saying, hey, I want to sell a Glock 17. And what I'll do is I will introduce you to via email and then kind of back off. All I do is a networking introduction. You work out whatever deal you're going to work out. If you have questions on price, I don't deal with dirtbags, so I'm not going to send you to someone who's going to deal out of the trunk of their car with a stolen gun. These are people that I know, trust, I've gone to the range with. I've either certified them or they're certified. They have bad background check. So if someone's a dirtbag, you're not going to get a referral from me. All right. So there are disqualifying statuses for someone with a Floyd card. If someone's been convicted of a felony, they cannot get a Floyd card, including a third DUI. If someone's under indictment for a felony, they're a fugitive from justice, or they're a controlled substance and or narcotics user or addict. Now, this is very interesting. Marijuana has been decriminalized for medical use, or I should say cannabis has been decriminalized for medical use, and also decriminalized for recreational use. Can you own a firearm if you use cannabis? And the answer is mixed. The Illinois State Police is not going to revoke your Floyd card if you're a user of cannabis. It is not illegal on the state level. However, on the federal level, cannabis is still considered an illegal substance. And because I answered a question before it was asked. Because gun stores are licensed by the federal government, they have to abide by federal law. So if you don't go into the gun store smelling like pot. If you use edibles, you are asked to fill out a form when you purchase a firearm. And one of the questions is, are you a user of cannabis? Now, even if a state decriminalizes it, if you check yes, the sale is stopped. The gun store will not complete the sale. If you check no and you are lying, you are now lying on a federal form, which is a felony. And if you get caught, there goes your gun rights, because you cannot own a firearm if you are a felon. We already talked about being a patient in a mental institution in the past 5 years. If someone is an illegal alien, they cannot own a firearm. But if they are here legally on a green card, a visa, they can certainly apply for a Floyd card and obtain a firearm. The only difference is when they purchase a firearm, the background check has one extra step, and that extra step is the embassy from the country of origin is contacted to see if they have a criminal record in their home country. It might delay the pickup process a little bit. All right, other disqualifying factors. If someone's been discharged from the armed forces dishonorably, cannot own a firearm. They've renounced their U.S. citizenship. Not many people do that these days, but this was written in the 1960s. If someone's subject to an active order of protection or restraining order, cannot own a firearm, or they've been convicted of misdemeanor or felony domestic battery or violence, even if they're a police officer. So if a police officer beats up his spouse or her spouse and is convicted, guess what? They can't have a Floyd card. They can't carry a gun. They are going to have to leave that department. So this applies to police. It applies to the military. Now, when you purchase a firearm, there's a 72-hour wait. That's a cooling off period. So if you, right now it's 7:15 on a Thursday night. If you were to purchase a firearm now, 7:15, then you cannot pick it up until Sunday evening at 7:15. Not Sunday morning at 10 a.m. when the store opens. It's hour for hour, and it's a 72-hour waiting period. And the idea is it's going to reduce or eliminate crimes of passion. Someone wronged me, I'm going to go get a gun, and then I'm going to take care of business. Well, that was me playing a role. I'm not really saying that as myself. This law prevents it. So 72-hour wait for all firearm purchases. All right. If you want to purchase a gun from another person, you can do that. But you have to go back to that website, Illinois State Police Firearm Services Bureau, or ispfsb.com, and enter in the buyer's Floyd card number. You'll get one of three responses: denied, delayed, or approved. So I introduced two people recently for a firearms purchase. And the seller contacted me and said, the buyer's Floyd I got denied. And in my career, I've seen one denial, and I was shocked because this guy was just in my concealed carry class. Well, it turns out he gave him his old Floyd number. He got a replacement Floyd and accidentally gave him the old. He was ultimately approved. He got his firearm. Everyone was happy. Seller was happy. Buyer was happy. There are times where you could be denied a sale because of an error, so you would call the state police. All right. So let's talk about the changes in the Floyd Act. It's called Fix the Floyd. Most of Fix the Floyd has to do with funding the state police, giving them funds and resources so that they can go out and confiscate firearms from people whose Floyds have been revoked for any number of reasons. What affects us is effective January 1st, 2022, there are no more expiration dates on Floyd cards. Your Floyd will automatically be renewed for 10 years with every firearms purchase. Now, this might be good news for you because it's your excuse to buy a gun. I have to tell my wife that. Again, a joke. All right. I'm deadpan, but I'm on a roll. All right. So, your Floyd card will be good for an additional 10 years each time you purchase a firearm. If you have fingerprints on file, that's the big if. If you would like fingerprints on file, reach out to me. I can introduce you to my fingerprint vendor, who's very, very good. And once your fingerprints are on file, there's no charge for the Floyd card after January. And like I said, it's indefinite. Another good thing is that the Floyd identification card and the concealed carry identification card will be combined at some point in the near future. All right. So David was asking, does a purchase that includes, do you have to do a background check for a purchase from a friend or a family member? Friend, yes. Family member, depending on who they are, no. So anyone in your immediate family, child, parent, aunt, uncle, grandparents, there is no going to the state police website and doing a background check. As long as they have a Floyd card, you have to verify that they have a Floyd card. If it's a friend, not related, yes, you do have to have the background check. All right, keep the questions flowing because I'm going to talk until I get questions. All right, so Another part of the Fix the Floyd Act, which isn't, does that automatically renew the Floyd? If you purchase from a gun store, it does. I'm not sure if your Floyd is automatically renewed if you have a friend or a person-to-person sale. I can get back to you on that. I'm not 100% sure. It's not going to matter in 2024, because in 2024, all person-to-person transfers have to be done at a federal firearms licensee or a gun store. They will record, they will do the background check for you. And I believe there's a cap on what they can charge. I believe it's $20. So there's another expense for firearm owners. Is this good? Is this bad? I don't think it's so good, because it's an additional expense. And the vast majority of gun owners in the state, the vast majority of gun owners in the country are good, law-abiding people. Notice I didn't say within Chicago. There are a lot of illegal guns within Chicago. All right. So we are at 7:19 right now. I'm going to entertain questions. And then I'm also, while I'm entertaining questions, I'm going to talk about the concealed carry license. 2013, the state enacted the Concealed Carry Act, where effective January 1st, 2014, people could apply to the state police for a concealed carry permit. They have to have 16 hours of training. That 16 hours of training involves a ton of different things. Legal updates, it involves how to shoot, maintenance of guns, what the law says, what you can and cannot do, role-playing, street smarts, being aware, maintenance, and then there's actually a shooting portion. So Michael asked another question. What happens if you carry concealed somewhere where they display the no concealed carry sign? Well, a couple things. First of all, if they are properly displaying the no concealed carry sign, it is the state adopted sign. Your first offense is a Class B misdemeanor. It's basically a slap on the wrist. Your second offense is a Class A misdemeanor, which is a little bit harder of a slap on the wrist, and your license can be suspended for up to 6 months. The third time you get caught and convicted, it's also a Class A misdemeanor, which is that heavier fine, and your concealed carry permit is revoked permanently. So that brings a point of discussion. What happens if they have the wrong sign posted? Are you obligated to not carry a firearm in? Nobody knows. It has not been tested in court yet. Some people will say, yeah, the state adopted one sign. If the sign's wrong, forget it. I'm going in and I'm carrying my gun. There's other people that ignore the sign and they carry anyway. They are carrying illegally. And then there's businesses that post the wrong sign on purpose to please everyone. They are pleasing the anti-gunners by saying, look, we have a sign. They're pleasing the gun owners by saying, ha ha ha, we know the sign is not the legal sign, so you can carry. But in reality, when you go to court, what is a judge going to say to you? He's going to say to you, honor the intent of the sign. And this is going to become a landmark case. Hopefully that answered your question, Michael. If it did not, please ask again or rephrase, and I'm happy to address it. All right. So, when can you use a firearm? Well, first of all, I know one of my mentors, Walter, is watching, and he taught me an acronym called PREF, Prevention, Recognition, Escape, and Fight. That's the order of operations. If you can prevent an incident by using your verbal judo, using your words, that's great. Recognize body language. Escape is always preferable to fighting, and fighting is the absolute last resort. I've gotten into some situations. Luckily, I did not get involved in a firearms incident, but I did use de-escalation techniques, and calling the police helped too. All right, Sean asked a question. What's my favorite and recommended CCL holster brand? I have a couple. If you go to my website, there is a link to Vetter holsters. I just got my first Vetter holster. It is a relatively thin polymer holster. The gun is secure in it. It's great. I don't even know I have it. I also like Galco, specifically their leather holsters. Leather for me is, I don't even know I have it on. Now, if I have a heavy gun on, my pants are going to fall down. That's a joke. I'm going to be pulling up my pants every couple seconds. But you use a polymer gun, you use a leather lightweight holster or a polymer holster, and you're good to go. Those are my two favorite brands. Not the end-all and be-all of holsters that are out there. That's just what I prefer. If you say, well, Marcus, I want to get a DeSantis. DeSantis is also an extremely good brand. Or I want to get a Tagua or whatever. I can give you an opinion on those. Just because I think they're great doesn't mean you're going to think they're great. Just because I think something is not good doesn't mean that you're going to have the same opinion. Plenty of people in my classes have firearms that I would not carry because of a quality issue. But they carry them. That's what they can afford. That's what they got. The first rule of every gunfight is have a gun. All right, Mike, also, thank you for reminding me, a good belt is important. Now, a good belt doesn't mean a good belt from JCPenney or Nordstrom. It means a concealed carry belt. And what's the difference? Well, leather tends to stretch, and when you are holding a gun, if this is my side, it's in a leather holster, it's going to stretch, and then all of a sudden, this is an exaggeration, but all of a sudden the gun is pointed at your leg. You don't want to have that. If you have a good belt, and a good belt has a polymer insert throughout, it's not going to stretch. So the belt that I recommend, and it's actually also on my website, firearmmentor.com, is from Nex Belt. I love the ratcheting belts, pretty much because I lost a lot of weight, and while I was losing the weight, I didn't have to go in 1-inch increments with belt loops. I just cinched it a little tighter. Also, I like it because if I'm carrying an inside the waistband gun, I can loosen it, not in 1-inch increments, and it's just very, very comfortable for me. I also recommend 511 Tactical, and I recommend RGB, which is really good belt. No, it stands for Ratcheting Gun Belt, although Ratcheting Gun Belt is twice as much money as Nex Belt, and I believe about the same quality. All right, we got 5 minutes left. I'm going to ask myself a question, and I'm going to answer it. So people say, oh, I want home defense. I want to protect my home from bad guys. I want to protect my home from terrorists. Well, the reality is you can't protect property. And honestly, your dog is property. Pets are considered property. So you cannot use a firearm to protect a pet. So what do? I want to protect my house. Well, the answer is you can. If entry to your home is made in a riotous, and I'm reading off screen, tumultuous or violent manner, Illinois state law says, look, that's enough reason to determine that that person has bad intent against you, and you can shoot them. It's called use of force in defense of a dwelling. The citation is 720 ILCS, which stands for Illinois Compiled Statutes 5/7-2. Normally, you can only use force to defend a person. You can only use deadly force to defend a person, yourself or another, if the other person is using unlawful force that will result in death and great bodily harm. Death, we all know what that means. Great bodily harm, it's kind of a misnomer out there. For me, I can be in great bodily harm before someone else. Look at me. I'm a big, tough guy, right? Yeah, I just had shoulder surgery recently. If someone hits me in my arm, everything's going to get detached. That would be great bodily harm. And I define, and again, this is an expert witness definition, not an attorney definition. I define great bodily harm as anything that will put you in the emergency room for a physical injury. Stitches, broken bones, concussion, anything like that, swelling. Not if you get a little bruise because someone, socks you in the arm. Like, haha, buddy, boom. That's not going to do it. If I throw a marshmallow at someone, that doesn't give them justification to fire a gun at me. Maybe to throw a marshmallow back. Eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. So you can only use it when you are in articulable, imminent danger of being killed or put in the hospital. All right. Does Illinois have castle doctrine or duty to retreat? I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I believe we do have castle doctrine. We do not have duty to retreat. David, it depends if the potato is frozen. If someone throws a brick at you or a frozen potato, that could injure you. I know you were kidding, but that's okay. All right. So once again, to use your firearm, it's got to be necessary to defend yourself or another person. Property is not mentioned in the law. It's got to be necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. So do I have to wait for someone to take a swing at me with a golf club or baseball bat or shoot at me? No. What this means is if you are under attack or about to be under attack, and that attack could hospitalize or kill you, you may be justified in using force. All right, here's the next part. 720 ILCS 5/7.1 says you cannot be sued if you use your firearm correctly, and you can't be sued by the aggressor, estate, spouse, family members. Are you still going to get sued? You better believe it. All it takes is a schmuck with $125 to walk to the courthouse and file a lawsuit. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to get you to settle by you not knowing the law. Attorneys know the law. They'll file on behalf of, basically a dead dirtbag. But they're trying to get a settlement. Your best bet is to fight it in court. Your best bet is to go to my website, get the link for concealed carry insurance, and then you'll have an attorney in your pocket. We are at 7:30, which means we are at the end of our broadcast, and you hopefully can see my passion. I could go on and on. I could go for 16 hours. That was a concealed carry joke. In any event, I will be back tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. from 7 to 7:30 on Facebook Live to discuss more things about guns. I also have an advanced concealed carry class this Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. If you're interested, please reach out to me. firearmmentor.com and or tacticaldaddy@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. Once again, I'm your host, Marcus Melnick, and I hope you have a good, safe evening. Bye-bye.